Good morning. You are listening to UpReach, a morning devotional presented by the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee, to encourage you as you face the opportunities and challenges of today. Let's begin this day together with some inspiring thoughts from God's holy word. In Romans chapter 6, verses 1 through 7, the Apostle Paul writes, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Or do you not know that as many of us as were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? Therefore we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. For if we have been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we also shall be in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old man was crucified with him, that the body of sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves of sin, for he who has died has been freed from sin." Many years ago, when Moses led the people of Israel out of Egyptian bondage, he took them to the edge of the Red Sea. The people's celebration of the newfound freedom was short-lived. When they saw the sea before them, they turned and saw a cloud of dust rising on the horizon behind them from the chariots of the Egyptians in hot pursuit. They now knew they were trapped, and they immediately lost their faith in God. They assumed that God was no longer working in their lives. In panic and despair, they turned on Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out into the desert to die? When we were slaves in Egypt, didn't we tell you? Just leave us alone and let us continue serving the Egyptians. Better to live as slaves than to die out here." These newly freed people were facing the first major challenge to their faith. They couldn't possibly imagine that God's path to freedom might actually lead them straight into and through the deep waters. The waters of the Red Sea, like the New Testament practice of baptism, are a symbol of death. When Moses parted the Red Sea, the people of Israel walked upon the dry seabed with walls of water on either side. They descended into the depths of the sea. They died to their old selves and rose to a new life that led them to the promised land. Although many years have passed since this historical account was written, it seems awfully familiar, doesn't it? Like the people of Israel in their journey, we sometimes panic and cry out to God, "Did you bring me out into this desert of adversity to die? Why does it sometimes seem that we would rather live as slaves than die to self and yield control of our lives to God?" Yet, in spite of our ingratitude, God lovingly and patiently takes us through the depths so that we can emerge as new people, ready to enter the promised land He has prepared for us. Have you ever noticed that with God, it seems that the greater and higher the calling, the more intense the adversity one must endure? I'm not saying one person's call is more important, but I am saying it may have a far more reaching impact on others. This often requires greater preparation. So consider your life from this perspective. If you happen to find yourself in deep water today, pause and give thanks to God. Who knows? He may be preparing you for a life that is designed to impact many. This has been UpReach, a presentation of the Church Street Church of Christ in Lewisburg, Tennessee. I am Kyle Bolton, the pulpit minister at Church Street, and I would like to personally invite you to come and share times of Bible study and worship with us each week. We meet every Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m. for our morning worship, followed by our Sunday school for all ages at 10:15 a.m. Then we meet again at 6 o'clock p.m. for our evening worship. We also have a midweek meeting for devotion and Bible study on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. I hope to see you there. Have a blessed day.
O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. O Lord, our